Hi, I'm Jackie Brodsky. Thanks for coming along with me to my transcranial magnetic stimulation treatment. I'm on my way into my neurologist's office now. Transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS therapy, is a non-invasive in-office procedure that uses magnetic pulses that causes the neuronal axons to become electrically excited and trigger action potentials, releasing neurotransmitters into the postsynaptic neurons. It is thought that this mechanism activates neural pathways that are inhibited during depression and other mental health conditions, and by doing so, improves symptoms. This treatment tends to be used after patients fail trials of several medications. During deep TMS treatments, an H1 coil targets neurons in the prefrontal cortex. This area is critical to reward-based decision-making. The H1 coil electrical fields have a larger target area, deeper penetration, and slower rate of decay than those of circular or figure of 8 coils. So, more neurons are under the influence of the electric field. Evidence suggests that the neurons deeper in the brain folds are positioned parallel to the electric field and are more receptive to the stimulation. Unlike electroconvulsive therapy, which requires a hospital visit with anesthesia and can result in memory loss, TMS is performed in a doctor's office, and the patient may drive to and from the visit and resume daily activities immediately after the treatment. Side effects are usually mild and can include a headache or sleep disturbance. Patients are asked about this at the beginning of each visit.
How'd you sleep last night?
Good.
Any headache?
No.
We are going to remap you today.
Before treatment begins, the patient's brain is mapped for motor threshold and positioning. The motor threshold is a measure of cortical excitability to determine the correct treatment dose. Signs of correct motor threshold include facial twitching and hand twitching. Several times during the 36 treatment course, the patient is remapped to make sure the correct dose is being applied. During the first part of each treatment, the standard protocol, which targets individual neurons, 36 very fast pulses of 18 Hz are applied for 2 seconds, with 5 seconds in between. This is done 55 times for a total of 1,980 pulses. Patients receive this at 100% to 120% of the motor threshold, depending on their tolerance. I receive it at 120%. During the second part of the treatment, theta waves of 50 Hz are applied with 16 fast pulses, applied for 3 seconds, with 5 seconds in between. I receive a double theta course, which is 76 times for a total of 3,648 pulses. This is done at 100% of the motor threshold for all patients. In all, I am in and out in about half an hour. I've found this treatment to be effective not only for my depression, but also for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, as these activated neural pathways have resulted in my being better able to focus my attention on tasks. Before I started this course, Understanding the Brain, the Neurobiology of Everyday Life, I knew that the brain was in the director's chair, the body. However, I didn't know just exactly how everything worked. Well, I have learned a lot in this course. For instance, I now know that I'm really glad that the stroke I had was far away from the circle of Willis, because I had very minimal, short-lived difficulties. However, my father's stroke was much more serious, and it was in his left motor cortex, and it affected the right side of his body. Lucky for him, he was left-handed. I also know that my friend with Parkinson's disease had trouble initiating movements in her body because most of her neurons that made dopamine had died. And because of that, her movements, which were inhibited at rest, had trouble getting uninhibited. I also know that my friend with Alzheimer's disease has trouble making new memories. In fact, she makes very few, if any, new memories because her hippocampus is not functioning. Because her hippocampus is not functioning, she cannot
reconstitute memories. So therefore, if you walk into her room at the nursing home, you walk out, you walk back in again, she doesn't even realize that you've been there before. I also realize what is going on in my eyes that is causing me to wear glasses for my myopia. I also know why my vestibular system causes me to be dizzy when I try to read in the car. I've learned so many other things in this course. Every time I've finished a lecture, I was so excited to share what I learned with my family. Things like muscle movement, language, and how language is produced, and how we comprehend language, and what happens when there are problems in the brain, in Broca's area, in Wernicke's area. What happens when we're not able to comprehend and produce our language. What happens when we're out of balance? What happens when our temperature can't get regulated? Why do we have trouble with our sweat evaporating on a hot and humid day, causing our temperature to rise? And my project has harkened back to week 1 about neurons firing and how my transcranial magnetic stimulation has stimulated neurotransmitter release, which has helped to activate my neural networks in my prefrontal cortex to help me with my depression. Thank you for coming along with me on this journey.